Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Tens of thousands of people have registered for tonight's event, and it is clear we are showing up because this moment demands it. Across the country, we're facing an unprecedented wave of extremist threats to our rights, our democracy, and our communities coming directly from the Trump regime in the White House and MAGA Republicans in the Congress. But we're also witnessing incredible acts of resistance and leadership and hope from MoveOn members and folks all across the country. And tonight is about lifting that up. While we wait for folks to join, and there are thousands of folks already here, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. We love seeing this community come together from every corner of the country. My name is Chris Percy. I'm the Senior Director of Member Productions and Special Projects at MoveOn. I know that's a mouthful. And I'm honored to be here with all of you and with the incredible speakers we're going to hear from tonight. So tonight we're joined by Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, two steadfast leaders for justice and democracy. We'll also hear from two phenomenal MoveOn member leaders, Larry Warner and India Miles, who are helping to lead our response to the extremist MAGA agenda with courage and clarity. And finally, we'll hear from my good colleague, Saskia, our Volunteer Network Associate Director, who will share all the ways that you can plug in and take meaningful action even today. And we will also hear a very special message from Professor Timothy Snder, the author of On Tyranny. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. Don't forget, guys, you can just go ahead and let us know. This is community. Let us know where you're tuning in from. But first, before we get into all those wonderful guest speakers, I am honored and thrilled to welcome my boss, MoveOn's Executive Director, the powerhouse, who leads us in this moment with heart and strategy. And I am so glad to be on the team that she leads. So please show some love in the chat to my boss, Rana Epting. Hey, Rana, how you doing?
Hey, Chris. I don't know. I thought I was on your team. We on each other's teams? Thank you. Well, we've got quite an impressive lineup tonight, and I'm excited to hear from Governor Walz and Senator Booker and MoveOn members and staff. But more importantly, we are here to talk about y'all who are joining us here this evening, the people, the thousands of MoveOn members tuning in tonight, and the millions across the country that have spent the last 100 days pushing back against Trump's corrupt agenda. That's what we're here to talk about. So look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is rough out there. Trump and the Republican Party, they are creating new problems every day as they seek to consolidate power and money for themselves and billionaires at the expense of the rest of us. I like to say their motto is all for them, none for us, none for you. It's been 3 months, and I'll be honest, it feels like 3 years. Holler at me if you agree. Cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, cancer research funding, price hikes in our grocery stores, kidnapping innocent people and ignoring court orders. The list goes on. These first 100 days have revealed the craven, corrupt, and incompetent qualities of the administration. But let me be clear, folks. They do not have a mandate. I don't care what they try to claim. They do not have a mandate. They are not inevitable. Their agenda is deeply unpopular, and the poll numbers and public outrage at town halls for Trump, Musk, MAGA Republicans, and their policies reveal this. We see it with our own eyes when we talk to our own neighbors, our friends, our family members. And as they attempt to flood the zone with these cuts and with their chaos, the one thing they did not anticipate is that we would flood the zone right back. And that's what we're doing. From the courts to the streets and from individual actions to collective actions, Trump is facing real sustained pushback. And that's because of all of you on this call, the millions of us out there that showed up at April 5th, the hundreds of thousands of us that are making phone calls every day into Congress and doing so much more. So what's next? Here is our opportunity for these next 100 days. Number one, we need to continue to go on offense while they backpedal from their unpopular agenda. We are seeing them backpedal right now. Number two, we also need to create accountability for anyone who goes along with their corrupt and cruel policies. We cannot let our elected officials forget that they work for us, not for Trump, not for Musk, and not for their band of oligarchs. And three, we must continue to build momentum for a people-powered movement that's showing up to say, hands off. We are in a position to seize this moment because of all the energy we've already seen from the people. This is our superpower together, every single one of us when we come together. In the first 100 days, there have been more people-powered protests in every corner of the country than in the same period in 2017. Remember 2017? We thought there were a lot of people showing up in 2017. Let me tell you, thousands and thousands of folks consistently in the first 100 days have been showing up, not only in big cities, but red and purple counties and rural towns. That's incredible. MoveOn members like you helped anchor many of the hands-off protests on April 5th, which took place in more than 1,000 locations and captured national attention. There is no ignoring the actions that we took on April 5th. MoveOn members have hosted and attended hundreds of congressional town halls, part of the larger movement that has scared Republicans from hosting meetings with their own constituents. Their knees are shaking, folks. We got to keep doing this work. MoveOn members have made nearly 600,000 phone calls and have gathered over 2.5 million petition signatures to protect Social Security, Medicaid, and SNAP, to oppose illegal abductions and detentions, and so much more. So along with friends and allies across this country and millions of people, we've been part of a community of mass action and individual acts of courage, all of which have shown Trump and Republicans that they are not invincible. Their agenda and their coalition is fragile. It is beatable. If you remember one thing from me tonight, let it be this: the energy is there. It is palpable. You are not alone. We are not alone. And this is our country. And if and when we all act together, we can contend with this power. So with that, it's my honor to welcome to the stage one of the Democratic Party's fiercest leaders, someone who has spent years not only pushing back against Trump, but fighting for a country that leads with compassion while passing policies that work for us, the people. And he still manages to find time to run to Menards. Did I pronounce that right? You'll tell me. So MoveOn members, say hello to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Well, good evening, everyone. Director Epting, thank you. And if you didn't hear me over here, I'm amening to everything you said and grateful for you. To the members who are on here tonight, thank you. Thank you for believing in this country. Thank you for believing in your neighbor. Thank you for leading with compassion and the energy that the director's talking about. Privilege for me to be with you. Certainly a privilege to be here with Senator Cory Booker. I think we saw an example of what leadership can look like in a moment when we needed it. And I will tell you, I started going out and doing these town halls in these districts where folks weren't showing up. And I got asked why I was doing that. And I said, first and foremost, I heard the primal scream of MoveOn members that said, do something, damn it. Stand up for our rights. Stand up for what's going on. Get out there. You're in an elected position. And because of Vice President Harris's putting me on the ticket with her, I had a platform to make it. And I will tell you, when I show up at these town halls, I said, people weren't there to see me. I was there to see them. Many had not attended before, and their energy was about telling their stories, telling them what Medicaid meant to us, that generations before us fought to make that happen. So look, this is our moment. It is going to be MoveOn members. It's going to be people who care about our democracy, who care about freedoms for everyone, not just a few, that are going to make this happen. And I think that's right. There's a couple choices here. They want us to be demoralized. They want us to stay home. They want us to check out. You sit home and doom scroll, or you can do the things that all of you are doing. And April 5th shook them. These town halls are shaking them. And I served as a member of Congress for 12 years. When angry constituents call you, it makes a difference. When constituents call you and ask you to do your job, it makes a difference. So, Director, I'm pleased to be with you, grateful for your leadership, but more importantly, this organization has always been and always will be grassroots driven for democracy, and it is making a difference.
Thank you so much. First of all, hi, Governor Walz. Thank you so much.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We are so honored that you took the time to be with us and be with the members that are joining us tonight. And you touched on this a little bit because we're going to jump right in since we got you. And you touched on this a little bit. You've talked a little bit already about traveling to some of these Republican districts where we've seen lawmakers who are basically hiding from their constituents and refusing to host town halls. Can you delve a little bit more into like what you've been hearing from those folks in those Republican districts and what gives you hope from those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I've done them in Iowa. I've done them in Ohio. I've done them in Texas, Nebraska. And look, these members have a responsibility. As a member of Congress, I stood in front of and the Tea Party movement was out there, but I was proud to stand up for that piece of legislation if it meant giving people health care. These folks are being told not to do it because they can't defend these policies. They can't defend the abduction of American citizens. They can't defend the destruction of the Department of Education and putting our children at risk. And folks are showing up because they want to express and ask what is going on. And I'm telling you, I asked in Youngstown, Ohio, how many people had never attended one of these? Half the folks. So this is not, I know that contrary to the Republicans saying it, MoveOn's not paying people to show up. People are showing up to get there because they care. And look, I had a young man, 15-year-old, and it was down in Fort Bend, Texas. And he understood and he asked what we were going to do in education if the Department of Education went away and the civil liberties protections for students with special needs like him, like my son, like so many millions of others. What would happen if he wasn't able to get the extra help that was making him successful in school? And he was concerned for himself and his classmates who knew how important it was. That's what people are coming with. They understand and articulating that collectively, the things we do, whether it's education or healthcare or environment, we need to work together. And what they're doing, Chris, is they're telling their stories, and they're heartbreaking in many cases. But what they're saying is, exactly what the director was saying is that this is our country, damn it. You don't have the right to do this. You don't have the right to take away my Social Security that I paid into. And they're asking us as elected officials what they can do too to help us out and what we should be doing. Because I think we need to all be honest with ourselves. It felt like a lot of people were stunned and deer in the headlights, frozen as they ran roughshod over the Constitution. And it was groups like MoveOn and members showing up at town halls that started to rise up. So it's just people talking about their lives, talking about the importance of these programs, and talking about these are not giveaway programs. We paid into them. And and I think, Director, I can't stress this enough. All of this unnecessary destruction is not meant to make government more efficient. It's meant to transfer money to the richest amongst us. It's as simple as that. It's a transfer of wealth. It's a money grab. It's a division. And they have figured out a way to have folks in the middle punch down on folks who need a little help. And simply having voices of MoveOn members out there to say that's not true makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. I just appreciate you so much. First, I just have to say that. And second of all, you can call me Rana. Don't call me Director. But just seeing you out there talking to the people and getting out there when their own elected congressional members won't do that is incredibly powerful because it's sounding the alarm all across this country. And, I'm going to ask you a question I often get asked, but I'm interested in how you would answer it. Folks have been showing up to protest in droves over the last 100 days. Yes, at town halls, but also like just at their local, state capitol or town square. And the question I get asked often is, why does protest matter? Is it making a difference to show this strong opposition? What would you say to that?
Yes, Ronna. The answer is yes, yes, yes. And don't let them look. That's why they try and criminalize protests. That's why they try and make it difficult. That's why they single out people, especially protest leaders, because what they understand is that this is a movement. This gets people energized. And I will make the case on this, especially in the era of Donald Trump. If we don't have people speaking and fill every single minute of with facts and pushback and decency and kindness, he will fill it with hate and cruelty and lies. And they take that media environment, and unfortunately, a lot of people, that's all they hear. So it forces it to be covered. It forces people to listen to what's happening. And I got to be candid, it gives folks an outlet that if look, we are all feeling it. I mean, the sense of anxiety that these people bring to the country, they live their lives in chaos, they live their lives in cruelty, that wears on people. And I think gathering in space and community with people who share your values, you said it, Ronna, you're not alone. It can feel like that, especially if you're in a marginalized community or you're struggling from paycheck to paycheck or you've got a health issue. These things are what shows up at these town halls. People stand up and they're like older people and they're scared. I mean, they have tears in their eyes and they're surrounded by support. They're surrounded by things that are going the right way. So yes, don't for a minute believe. And it's not performative. It's action. And look, you're guaranteed by the Constitution your right to peacefully assemble, to petition your government for a redress of grievances. And we got a damn big list of grievances. So being out there and saying it makes a difference.
That is so interesting that you say that. And, one of the things that I'm thinking about, even as we talk about this and we are um, sending these messages to our members to be engaged, and I wonder, like, how do you take care not to burn out? And what suggestions do you give to folks? It's just been 100 days. So for these next 100 days, what do you do and how would you suggest for us to take care of ourselves not to burn out?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking that too. First, don't ever read comments on social media, people. I know you know better than that. Some of them are funny, though. I think you can. Look, I think the way for me, and this is where I find energy, and I'll have to say, when I go to these town halls, I am very clear. Those folks are not coming to those to see me. I'm coming to see them in many ways, to hear what they're saying, to see what their leadership, see what they're asking. I find it in the way I take care of myself is this sense of optimism, knowing that this will not last, that there are too many good people out there, that decency needs to prevail. And Dr. King's, arc of the moral universe bending towards justice, I believe that, but I think it needs a lot of help right now. And I take great comfort that lifts me up is to see the people. These are people that are busy. They're not getting paid. They're not elected to be the governor of Minnesota. They're coming after work and after they fed their kids and after they paid the bills. They're coming out there to say, I want to help my neighbor. And for me, that's where the energy comes from. That's where you reinvigorate. I said it on the campaign trail, and it wasn't just a slogan, but now it's more than ever. There'll be time to sleep when we're dead. This is not the time. This is, and again, I'm going to say it. I don't want to alarm people because I think this whistling past the graveyard, this is terrifying. But in the midst of terrifying, you can find strength and you can find decency and you can find some humor with your folks on this, because I'll guarantee you at the end of this, this administration will be talked about in the dustbins of history and a decency. And what I get energy out of this too is they are destroying things. And for some folks on here know that's going to be an opportunity to rebuild things in a way that serves more people, that we pull down systemic barriers that were there. And those were in government. We know that we can do better. So I appreciate you asking that, but I get my energy and my hope by being around folks. And I'm telling you, multi-generational, multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious groups are showing up at this. Our common thread, I would say, is a decency, a protection of human rights and democracy. That's inspiring because, my God, if you listen to these guys, it's all just crap 24/7, and it's all doom, it's all deflection, it's all lies. Go and hang around. There's many reasons to go to these protests. Your mental health is one reason to go. It'll lift you up.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And we're going to be hearing from some of those folks, some of our MoveOn members who do this work in just a second. But before that, I want to say thank you to Rana. I know she has to run. Thank you so much for your leadership, Rana. And
Thank you, everyone.
thank you for reminding us that we are not alone in this fight. It is very important, the work that we are doing. So, the pushback to the Trump administration wouldn't be as robust and as visible without the passion, the sweat equity, and the commitment of MoveOn's millions of members. And we have two amazing, inspiring members here with us tonight. The first one I would like to introduce is Miss India Miles. India is a project manager, instructional leader, and passionate community volunteer based right outside of Dallas, Texas, where she lives with her husband, son, and her very energetic Chihuahua. We're going to have to talk about that one of these days. India has led youth-focused initiatives with organizations like SciTech Institute, IBM, and Black Girls Code. India currently volunteers as a volunteer squad coordinator for three amazing teams with MoveOn, blending her love of strategy and leadership and advocacy. So, India, you're one of our super volunteers here. First of all, welcome to the call.
Thank
It's so
you.
good to have you. So you're one of our veteran phone bankers. Why do you do that?
You know, one of the reasons why I do this work, and I'll be very honest with you, as a Black woman, I have a very complicated relationship with America. You know, as a Black woman married to a Black man raising a young Black boy, it can
Hmm.
get very discouraging, right? And there have absolutely been times where I've just lost hope. I've gotten discouraged, and I'm just thinking, I'm not going to be around to see MLK's promised land. But just this current political landscape, just how it's devolved so drastically and extremely, it just won't let me stop pushing, resisting, fighting back, standing up, getting into good trouble, doing what's right. I cannot quit at this time. I cannot.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I appreciate you being candid with your story. We're talking about phone banking, and we are going to get to why we're talking about phone banking in a second. Um, but it may seem intimidating to a lot of people. What would you say to those folks, and why do you start doing it, and what do you get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing that I would say to anyone who is thinking about it or might even be intimidated is that we do an amazing job of preparing our phone bankers. We train at the very top of the call, we send the materials ahead of time when they sign up. And something that we do that I haven't seen done anywhere else, and definitely not in my days of phone banking, we actually have a phone bank support team, one of my amazing teams. And we are there to offer live technical support for our phone bankers. We even have a Care Bear room because it is rough. You might have call after call after call, and somebody will hang up or they don't want to talk to you. They may say a few choice words. And so we are there to provide that just kind of encouragement and just kind of love on them a little bit and let them know you're doing good work. Keep going. We've got you.
I know that's right. And we talked about this yesterday, Care Bear. I used to love the Care Bears. That was my stuff
Oh,
growing up.
same,
That's a whole
same.
other conversation. Um, Before we go any further, folks might be thinking, okay, why did they jump right into phone banking? I'm so glad you asked, because we cannot have a conversation talking about what's happening in the world without talking about how you can get involved to make a change. So before we go any further, take a moment to go to moveon.org/budget fight, where you can sign up to join a phone bank that is happening next Thursday, May 8th, contacting other MoveOn members in key districts, connecting them to their representatives to urge them to vote no on amendments and reconciliation bill that would increase funding for ICE and the Pentagon and attacks on constitutionally protected rights while gutting critical programs like Medicaid, Social Security, SNAP, Meals on Wheels, and others. Governor, I want to quickly go back to you because you also touched on this. We're talking about getting our members to make calls to their representatives. Can you say real briefly, like, what those calls are like when you are a sitting politician who gets those calls from folks like MoveOn members?
Yeah, and first of all, I'd like to thank India, and I'd like to thank you for sharing. And I think telling your truth and your lived experiences. And just to be clear, the folks who are out there doing this, it's a lot easier for old white men to navigate this stuff and to understand the people who take the brunt of all this are still at the front lines of making this happen. So I'm grateful for you. Yeah, these calls matter. And what I would tell everybody, if you're calling congressional offices, this is what I could speak to for myself. I a lot of times those calls are being answered by interns, folks that work in that are working there for the member. And I think, as you call in, you're going to be, because you're decent human beings, you're going to express your frustrations. You want to know why, Congressman X is supporting such horrible policies, and you'd like to express your opinion calling from where you're at. What I can tell you is all those calls get tallied. They get tallied up and they come to you. And you've got a couple choices here. You can be, I would argue, a terrible person and not look through those. But what I would end every day in my office, I would go through the call sheets of what they were. And I would do something, and I would encourage them to. I would pick out some of these randomly and call people back and tell them. And I think these members, because once again, the issue is their political future. They are far more worried about Donald Trump than they are about their constituents. Once they become about their constituents, and I'll just give you an example of this. MoveOn members showed up in Omaha. MoveOn members have been pushing them. Folks have been showing up. I did a town hall down there. Ro Khanna did a town hall down there. Now over the weekend, lo and behold, their Republican member says, we shouldn't really be cutting Medicaid, and he's contemplating on retiring from Congress. And I think that'd be a good decision for him, because he would be happier, we would be happier. That happened because of pressure, and the phone banking calls are the one way you can get to a member, especially one that's not doing, anything public. So it matters.
Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you, India, for sharing with us tonight. So glad for all the work that you do, that you're going to do with us, and we are so honored for all the things that you do. Keep on keeping on with us, okay?
Thank you.
And now I'd like to introduce our next guest tonight, one of my favorite senators, but we'll talk about that later. It is my honor to introduce to you a lifelong champion for justice, equity, and community. From his time as mayor of Newark to his work in the U.S. Senate, he's been a tireless advocate for criminal justice reform, economic fairness, protecting our democracy, as we have seen. I'm so glad, and we're thrilled to have him here with us tonight. Please welcome Senator Cory Booker. Hey, Senator, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm being sourced by this conversation, and definitely the governor, who is firing me up with the kind of workhorse he is out there for the larger cause of our country. So to you, thank you. To the governor, thank you. And to MoveOn, you all are foot soldiers for justice in a fight that we so urgently need to continue.
Definitely, definitely. I'm glad that we were able to bring both of you all. Like, what a powerhouse lineup. I'm a little intimidated, but in a good way, not a bad one. I'm just so glad that you're both here. So I'm going to jump right on in, because I know time is very precious. I want to talk about some of the Dem opposition and how Dems can fight back in this moment. So, Senator, even though we are in the minority at the federal level, what can Democratic lawmakers do in this moment in our country?
Well, the first thing I want to say is that we should be doing everything we can and fighting in every way. This is a time where we have to rise up and use all the gifts God gave us, not just the positions we hold, but we are Americans too. So we have to be creative, in many ways inspired by the artistry of activism that we saw in generations before. Look, I'm only the fourth Black person ever elected to the United States Senate. I'm not standing here because a bunch of senators on the Senate floor one day put all their hands in and said, I've seen the light, let those Negro people have the right to vote, or I've seen the light, let them have civil rights. Oh, let's generously give them the fair housing bill. All those things were earned by the power of the people, who showed that the power of the people is greater than people in power. And so Dems in Congress, I say this to my colleagues, many of them who are showing that kind of spirit, that we have to do what our job is, do everything we can procedurally to stop them from what they're doing, do everything we can in the courts. And we literally have senators signing on to amicus briefs. This president has been in office for 100 days, has been sued an average about 2 times a day, and in front of Republican judges, appointed judges, and Democratic appointed judges. We're winning a lot of these fights. But in addition to that, we have to find ways to be creative in our protests, to center people in the protests, to tell the stories of our constituents, to elevate them and their battles. Because the way we're going to win right now, especially with a bill that is looming, that's going to cut $880 billion from Medicaid, understand that this is a bill that's cutting that in order to give bigger tax cuts to the wealthiest in our country, millionaires and billionaires. The way we stop that is by convincing either 4 senators or 4 House members to vote against this toxic bill. Now, we did that in 2017 when we stopped the Affordable Care Act being pulled down by Donald Trump, because we convinced then it was only 3 senators we needed. We got Collins, Murkowski, and John McCain famously with his thumbs down. Now, I would like to tell you that it was a persuasiveness of the arguments of Senate Democrats that got John McCain, that it was the ferocity of our speeches or the talent with which we made our arguments, but that was not the case. What made it happen was that millions of Americans were protesting, were letting their voices be heard, were doing like they've already done in this first 100 days, shutting down the phone circuits here because they kept calling so much. And eventually, when John McCain heard from Arizonans and the nation, Collins, Murkowski, and saw the impact this was going to have from the little lobbyists in their wheelchairs, kids, beautiful children who happen to have disabilities, going out there and getting in their faces and speaking with heart and love. You can't do this to American children. Whether it was hospitals telling them what this would mean, eventually the call to their conscience worked. So this is a time where all hands on deck, and we need to be using every strategy, every tactic, every morally imaginative thing that we can do to win in these moments.
Oh, that's right. I know that's right. You know, a few weeks ago now, you became even more famous for the 25-hour and 5-minute floor speech. What pushed you to make history and do that floor speech?
Not what, who? Y'all did. Because you know what? Rightfully, my constituents, activists were saying to me, you got to do more. What you're doing is not enough. Sorry, this moment demands more from our leaders. And you need to take risks. You need to swing for the fences. Even if you strike out, step up to the plate. Don't wait. What are you going to do that's different? And the call got hard. We were working around the clock. We were doing a lot of things, but it wasn't breaking through. And so I decided, you're right. Let me try something different. Let me make sure people know this is not normal. And we decided to do something abnormal, to try to disrupt the Senate business. And I announced that we would stand on the floor as long as I possibly could physically do it. And the great thing about that experience for me, as I was reading and centering the stories of Americans, their stories, my staff was like amazed that they were choking me up. Heartbreak, pain, fear, anger. And people were slipping me notes about people that were following online. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. It carried me another hour and another hour, another hour. And then when I saw the truth, that we were getting closer and closer to Strom Thurmond's record. That year, 1957, that he set that record, there were horrific things happening in our country. Church bombings, lynchings, violence, the rise of the Klan. After the 1954 Brown versus Board of Education, the Klan was rising. It was a time of domestic terrorism. But yet the people during that generation didn't stop. Strom Thurmond failed then in that time. He left a stain of that longest speech, but he failed then because of people facing the most outrageous obstacles, violence, suppression, governors standing up saying segregation now, segregation always. And yet somehow, despite this powerful senator, former governor, standing for 24 hours, somehow they overcame his filibuster, the power of the people, were able to push the agenda, the civil rights agenda of 57, Civil Rights Bill 59, 64, 65, 68, all earned by people. And I was there that night, standing on that floor, as just the 4th Black person ever elected to that institution. I was standing on the shoulders, not of senators past, but I was standing on the shoulders of people that caused good trouble. So hell yeah, I could stand long enough to break his record. And so I'm fired up by this. Because I know I stood for 25 hours, but everybody on this call knows that person that has pulled 2 shifts at the diner, but because they can't make ends meet, they pull a 3rd shift. Everybody here knows people that work in hospitals, that work around the clock doing the most unglamorous jobs for too little pay, as medical professionals, but they stand. Everybody here knows, the governor knows this. There are firefighters fighting worse and worse flames that do 16-hour shifts in the devil's heat. So I stood for 25 hours, but there are Americans right now, because we have a system that benefits millionaires and billionaires and not families. There are people that work a full-time job and then go to another job. We need to stand for them against a president that is wrecking the economy, raising their prices, stealing from their pockets to give more to the millionaires and billionaires. We all have to stand up and make a stand right now.
Thank you so much, Senator. I know that you have to run. I know that there's some important business at hand, but thank you so much for taking a moment to speak to our members all across.
No, thank you. Honestly, and the governor said this. Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. Mm. And you all have been pushing us. You all have been inspiring us. You all have been calling to us. I tell this story a lot, and I'll end with this. It is Hurricane Sandy, the worst storm imaginable. I'm driving along in a command vehicle as mayor of my city, driven by 2 police officers. I get a call that begins with the stupidest question in America. Will you hold for the president of the United States? The White House operator asked that question. Who says no to that? Tim, I don't know who says no to that, Governor. And so I say yes. And then I hear it. I hear a voice. And I'm telling you, I miss Obama right now. I miss Obama. And I miss her husband too. and this was my second favorite Obama. This was Michelle's husband on the phone, checking in with me, checking in on the city, talking about before the storm even came, disaster relief. It was amazing. 5 minutes of conversation. I hang up. Phone rings again. It's the governor of my state, Christie. He's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. But in a crisis, it should shear away partisanship. This crisis we're in right now is not left or right, it's right or wrong. Where do you stand in history? And Christie with me, standing strong. We had a good conversation. 5 minutes. That conversation's over. I hang up the phone. We're on a hill. I see at the top of the hill, through the rain and the storm, I see a light. And I'm like, what is that? Waving at us. I get closer and I see behind the light, which was being held by a man, all the trees had come down, all the telephone poles had come down. It was a mess of wire and wood. And we slow down. We would have stopped anyway, but it slowed down. I roll down that window and I see it's an elderly man in a slicker holding a light. I roll down my window over the rain. I yell at him, what are you doing out here? And this man looks at me like I just asked him the stupidest question in America. He points to the shattered wood and the exposed wires and says, Mayor, this is so dangerous. I'm standing out here to make sure no one comes along and gets hurt. I just talked to the president of the United States, the governor of my state. I'm the mayor of the biggest city in my state. We've got powerful positions. But the greatness I saw best exhibited that night was the man standing on top of a hill in a savage storm in dark of night, holding up a light for other people. That's what power is. It doesn't hold a position or wealth. Real power is people standing up for others. And that's what this organization is about. Not waiting for presidents, for senators, for governors. They say, this is our country. It's we the people. And when the people in power are doing wrong, the people rise up, like they did in the civil rights movement, in the suffrage movement, in the abolition movement, in the labor movement, in the LGBTQ movement. We have passed laws. We have changed the court's opinions. We have made impossible things happen because of the people. And now the leaders need to take our lead from folks like you. That's why I'm fighting harder. That's why I sat on the Capitol steps for 12 and a half hours with Hakeem Jeffries. That's why I'm going to continue from my position doing good trouble like you all are doing.
Thank you so much, Senator. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I feel so energized from this story. And I wonder, we have a MoveOn member here who reminds me a lot of the story that you just told. I want to bring in real quickly, I'm really excited to introduce to both of you while you're here, our MoveOn member, Larry Warner. He's a husband, father, grandfather, has served as a faith leader for decades in his community. He's a former deputy sheriff in LA. He works to bring greater transparency and accountability to his local police department in Southern California. Larry, it's so good to have you here. And welcome here with the great Senator Booker and Governor Walz. I'm so glad to be in this conversation with you all. Larry, before I go to you, I want to ask the senator while I still have him for another second, and then also ask the governor the same question. You've both been focused on getting the message out, and I'm really inspired by the story that you just told. How do we reach everyday people and break through the noise, right? Because I feel like there are so many people like that man that you talked about, but some of them are waiting to hear from us, right? And some of us. So how do we break through?
So the governor outranks me. There's 50 of him. There's 100 of me. But if you'll allow me, because they just gave me the word that I got to sprint to the floor to get there's a vote, and I don't want to miss the vote. But yes. I'm going to say this. I love that when Martin Luther King, in April of 1963, he wrote the letters from the Birmingham jail that we all know the spiritual truths he spoke then appeal now. He said, we were all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a common garment of destiny. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. But he gets out, and his tactics are failing. People forget this. King was not succeeding in organizing people in Birmingham. And it was two young people, James Bevel and Dorothea Cotton, young black man, young black woman, who challenged King to allow them to do something that he had been not allowing them to do, which was to allow children to march in front of Bull Connor. There's a chapter in a Pulitzer Prize winning book called Parting the Waters called Children's Miracle, because these young people, 21 to 8 years old, marched in front of Bull Connor, who unleashed fire hoses, eventually dogs and others. But they called the conscience to the conscience of the country. They expanded the moral imagination of the nation through their sacrifice, through their peaceful marching. And within 12 days of that children's march, so many Americans got off the couch and joined them in Birmingham. Remember, King said, what we have to repent for in this day and age is not the vitriolic words and violent actions of the bad people, but the appalling silence and inaction of the good people. Well, these artists of activism inspired people off the couch and into the fight, and segregation in the city they said it would never fall in 12 days. And so the way we get through, the way we break through, is by following that spirit, thinking of creative things to do. And we have tools that they didn't even have. Yeah. We have ways of organizing and connecting that they didn't have. And we've got to start thinking more creatively about our tactics, doing things different, taking risks, trying new things, and bringing forth our collective genius and our activism and how we're going to inspire the moral imagination of our country in our times. Governor, thank you for the grace. And thank you, Chris. Forgive me for running. I draw energy from you all, so thank you for tonight.
Thank you so much, Senator. Everybody show love to the senator in the chat. Thank you so much. Please run down. We don't want you to miss that vote. Governor, the same question to you.
Yeah.
How do we reach everyday people? I mean, you do it every day with these town hall meetings and things that you do. How do we break through that noise?
Yeah, well, I don't know about all of you. I'm ready to run through the wall for Senator Booker. He's doing it and he's leading. I would echo what he said. I'm of the belief we have to fill all the lanes, and where people have their strengths, get out there. If some are doing podcasts, that's fine. If others are doing whatever they can do. If your thing is phone banking or you want to learn how to do it, you heard India talk about that, the ability to be able to go do that. Do what you can do. And I think it's important for us meet folks where they're at. And I think elected officials need to recognize they don't need to show us to show up at an event they're doing and hold things up and get up there and do our thing. Fall in line with them. What we should be doing is using our offices. If there's people out there, you got Larry, you got India, you got folks who are doing the work. Use our resources to maximize what they're doing and meet as many people. And I will go back to this. The current occupant of the White House sucks up all the oxygen if he can. And I think all too often we've allowed that to go unanswered. I think we need to be every place we can. I agree with the senator. If somebody's got an idea, let's go with it. And whoever came up with the April 5th and the day of national action, that's what we need. I think we need a shadow government. I think we need national, walkouts. I think we need it all. But wherever those ideas are coming from, keep pushing.
I know that's right. Speaking of that, I want to bring in Larry. Larry, thank you, first of all, for being with us tonight. It's already been an exciting call. Um, so you hosted your first ever protest earlier this month on April 5th,
Right.
as a part of nationwide historic hands-off demonstrations against Trump and Musk. Why did you get involved?
Well, a couple things. One, I wasn't around for the civil rights movement. I wasn't around for the Vietnam War, but I'm here and now in this time. So at first I was just going to go, oh, hey, let's go down to the city and join a march. And I did that with Black Lives Matter. It was a great experience. As has been talked about tonight, a community forms and very powerful. So when I went on to click on, hey, I'm going to go to this thing, I looked at my area and no one was doing anything. This whole thing was just blank. And then they had this little button at the top right-hand side that said, be a host. It's like, all right. I put my little mouse there, clicked on it, and then they asked for some of my social media stuff. I gave them the addresses, and about an hour later, they're like, you're good to go.
So first of all, that is so dope. It is so amazing because as an organizer, this is why I do this, right? It's always so amazing when folks like venture out and do something new. So how did it go, and would you do it again?
Well, let me answer the second question first. I've already done another one, and I have another one planned for this Saturday, and I'm joining another one tomorrow. So because I don't want to miss May 1st. Right. There's like 1,300 of these things going on, so I don't want to miss that. So yes, I'm going to continue to do it, and I'm actually hoping we do something big on June 14th. So just to throw that out there, because I think there's some guy who's going to have a birthday party or something on that day. Might be good to for us to get some of that oxygen.
You better organize us, Larry. Come on, learn it lesson early.
Well, I am doing something on June 14th. I just hope everyone else is as well. So yeah, I'm going to continue to do it. But what happened is, so I'm hoping for about 100 people. Me and my wife on our date nights have been protesting. So we go out down to the farmers market and we just hold our little two signs, and we would see these people come up to us, sort of, very very cautiously, and then give a little thumbs up. Mm-hmm. And so there's this sense of people want to do something, but they're afraid.
Yeah.
And so that's, so again, that's why I pushed the button, hoping for like 100 people. Like, man, 100 people, I could do that. I've been a pastor, worked with youth. 100 people, I could handle 100 people. Well, before I go to bed that first night, 300 people have registered.
Wow.
The next morning, 500 people. A couple days later, 700, 800. And it bottoms out at over 1,200 people feel like we need to show up and do something.
Wow. That is amazing. Also, I don't know if everybody heard that, but a good date night suggestion is going to a protest. You trying to be romantic? Protest. What do you want to say to others here who have not gone to their first protest or organized their first action, at least not yet, right? What do you want to say to those folks who are looking at this and like debating whether they should get involved?
Well, one thing is, if I can do it, you can do it. This is not rocket science. I'm just some old white guy, and could push a cursor over a thing and say host, and then God did some incredible things with stepping out in faith like that. Mm-hmm. And I think also to own, people need to be heard and people need to be seen. People need to know that they're not alone in this thing. They're not the crazy ones.
Yeah.
But there's groups of people who feel the same way. And as we gather together, there's an energy that's formed, and there's this community that's developed, and people feel safe, and people feel heard, and people feel seen. And it's a coming together with these people and for these people who are not only these people, but they're us.
Yes.
And it's coming together, and to be a part of that is so powerful. It's exciting, it's exhilarating. Yes, it's scary, but there's also a whole lot of great resources out there now that you can grab hold of and use. Like when it got to 1200, I figured out I can't do this by myself. So I reached out to my faith community and said, hey, could some people help me? I need some de-escalators. We call them people of peace. And so, there were these videos. I had them all watch an hour video. And then I deputized them. And here's the key. I gave them each a bright yellow safety vest and said, this gives you power and this gives you confidence. And now go out and spread among these people. And if you see 20 people with safety vests on, it creates the illusion that this is actually organized and that there's some kind of control going on. So I would say, begin to step out and go for it and see what happens. And people will join you. And it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be 1,000. Like I said, me and my wife, there's 2 of us. Sometimes 4 people show up, sometimes 5, but oftentimes it's just us 2. Yeah. And people respond to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Larry. You are so inspiring. I really appreciate all the work that you have done in this last month, how you have really just dug in. Folks have been hearing a lot about mobilizations, and we know that tomorrow is May 1st. Yes. If you go to moveon.org/Mayday, you will find all the events that are happening tomorrow, and you can sign up for them. Again, if you go to moveon.org/Mayday, you will find what is closest to you.
Hey, could I say one more thing before?
You sure can.
All right, thanks. We need to be a persistent presence. Like, it's not just 100 days, it's not just 200 days, but we got to keep on keeping on. We got to keep on showing up. We need to keep speaking, declaring truth to power. We need to keep calling out injustice. We need to really call out the value and dignity of all people. People are being dehumanized. People are being belittled. People are being even vilified. And if we don't do it, if you don't do it, I don't do it, who's going to do it? Together we can and together we will, but it's got to be together. All right. Peace.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you. And now we're coming to the time where our special guest, Governor Walz, is getting ready to leave us. But before you go, we can't let you leave quite yet, sir, because I have one last question to ask you. I know that our members and friends watching have tons of questions, and we could be here all night answering them. But if you could take the next minute and just talk about the next 100 days and what they look like. Specifically, what do you encourage all of us to do, and where should we focus our pressure over the next 100 days?
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'll go back here. I know it's 2 examples of what MoveOn members look like with Larry in India. This is what inspires us. This is where it comes from. I can't tell you how exciting it is to hear. I would warn both of you. I was a 41-year-old public school teacher, and the next thing I know, I'm a vice presidential candidate. So both of you start planning. Look, the world belongs to those who show up. This country belongs to those who show up. We heard the other side fly their flags. Don't tread on me, we the people. Well, they need to live up to it. And we're the people too. And I do think this thing about not burning out, sticking with it, Larry's exactly right. This is a long haul. We got 500 days till the midterms. We need to be an optimistic force, a place to gather, and we need to be a thorn in the side of these guys every single day. And we need to name what they are. If their fascist tendencies are coming out, call it out, and then let's provide a different alternative to that, a caring country and a caring community that everyone's involved with. Take advantage of these things, create opportunities, do your own on this, and have that confidence you have. I mean, we're all going to be at the end sometime and looking back. And I want to know, when that question's asked, what did you do during these dark times? Everything I possibly could. And I am inspired by all of you. Each of us has a role to play. I really encourage folks to say, I'm not that comfortable door knocking. I'm not that comfortable doing this. Find whatever it is, and don't give them a moment of peace in carrying out this destruction without being called on it. I do believe our light's going to shine through. So thanks, MoveOn members. Chris, your team, thanks for all you're doing. I'm glad to be a part of it. Let us know what we can do. And I said the same thing. I don't know if what doing makes a difference. Not everything we do is going to work, but I refuse to allow them to continue what they're doing without hearing from us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Governor. And look, like Larry said, we're gonna keep on keeping on. And I appreciate you being with us tonight. And take this with you. You be encouraged. Like, thank you for pouring into us, but let me pour this back into you as you go and be on the front lines. Be encouraged and know that members all across the country are rooting for you, rooting for our leaders to keep on pushing. It is not an easy fight. And so thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I look forward to the work that we will do in the future. So folks in the chat, please show some love to Governor Walz. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us tonight. Thanks again to the governor and Senator Booker for joining us and inspiring us tonight. We definitely needed it and appreciate the ways they are leading at this moment. We have one more very special speaker tonight, and while he could not be here with us live, he sent a message to MoveOn members. Professor Timothy Snder, author of On Tyranny, is a leading scholar about how democracies move to tyranny. His 20 lessons from the 20th century have offered warning flags of the rise of totalitarianism, tongue-tied, as well as a playbook for individual and collective action to resist dictators and preserve democracy. So listen right quick to this special message from Timothy Snder.
This is Timothy Snder. I'm very glad to have this chance to spend a few moments with you and really to thank you for not obeying in advance. This has been crucial. The first 100 days have taught us that what the Trump administration is after, or I should really say what the group of oligarchs around Trump are after, is nothing less than a regime change, nothing less than transforming the United States from a republic into something else, into an oligarchy where the rule of law no longer functions. We see this in the attempt to rule without laws. We see this in the attempt to overturn the rule of law. We see this in spectacular attempts at transforming our public life into a fascist spectacle, like, for example, the abduction and the forcible rendition of non-citizens and citizens in the full light of day. Facing this, it's been very, very important that you have been active. It's been very important that you haven't obeyed in advance. It's been very important that you've practiced professional ethics, lesson 5 of On Tyranny. It's been very important that so many of us have practiced corporeal politics, have protested, which is lesson 13. It's really important to establish the norm of protesting. It's very important to physically be with other people. And it's very important to establish the principle of cooperation, as I know all of you have been doing. So thank you. What can we expect in the next 100 days of the Trump administration or of this attempt at regime change? I think it's very important to expect that there will be now exogenous surprises. It is very likely that the bottom will fall out of the economy somewhere around the end of May or early June, thanks to the tariffs. It is very likely that there'll be some kind of major disruption inside the United States. And the key here is in the last few lessons of On Tyranny. Don't fall for language about extremism or terrorism. If there is some kind of terrible event or exogenous shock or even terrorist attack inside the United States, be aware that this is the pretext that will be used to try to push things further. Be aware of it, know that that's the sequence, and use it instead as an opportunity to hold the people responsible who should be taking responsibility. So it's been much more dramatic than I think many people expected. The very fact that so many of you have acted wisely and in a timely way and shown courage has made a huge difference. We have a chance, thanks to what we've done these first 100 days. These next 100 days, we'll have to do more. We'll have to stay calm, we'll have to be active, and we'll have to stick together. Again, thank you very much. I'm glad to be with you.
Our very special thanks to Professor Snder for taking the time to send us this message. As he said, the work all of us are doing uh, is the kind of work he has seen have impact around the world. Again, the kind of work that we are doing right now is the kind that he has seen have impact around the world. All the more reason we need to keep it up, and there are upcoming opportunities to do just that. So I would like to now welcome my colleague, my friend, my homie, Saz. I call her Saz, Saskia, our Volunteer Network Associate Director, as she comes and reminds us about how we can get involved right now, today. Hey, Saz.
Hey, Chris. Thank you so much. This call has been filled with so much information, and as we wrap up the conversation tonight, one thing is clear. The first 100 days of the Trump administration has set a tone that demands a response. And thanks to MoveOn members and so many others, many of you in the chat tonight, we are seeing that response. You heard it from Governor Tim Walz, Senator Cory Booker, our members, and others in the chat. These actions are not just political headlines and clickbaits in your inbox. They're real impact on real people. These attacks on our freedoms, they're attacks on our communities, on our Constitution, all in the name of power for the few and profit for the ultra wealthy at the expense of our livelihoods. Reflection isn't enough. This is time for action. We have actions you can take right now, tomorrow, and next week, whatever your comfort level is, whether you've been in this fight for years or just getting started. You can take action right now by going to moveon.org/GOP budget to sign the petition to protect federal aid. And we'll also keep sending you activities and actions that you can take in your community and nationally. So make sure to go to moveon.org/GOP budget to sign the petition right now. And I know you've been hearing us talk about May Day, so you have the opportunity to join us in the streets again. Allies are hosting events across the country to support workers, immigrants, and a fair economy for all. You can RSVP for an event near you, because there will definitely be an event near you. Go to moveon.org/Mayday. You should be able to find all of these links in the chat, so make sure to click on there. If you're not comfortable coming to the streets, that's A-okay. You heard India talk about our phone banks. We have been making thousands of calls all this year to fight these attacks. And we have another opportunity for you to join a phone bank. Next week on Thursday, May 8th, we are going to be making calls. We're calling MoveOn members and progressives in key states and urging them to call their members of Congress and get the phones across the Capitol ringing off the hook. You heard Senator Cory Booker say it. These calls mean a lot. So go to moveon.org/budgetfight. Again, you can find these links in the chat. moveon.org/budgetfight to sign up and join us for a phone bank next week. So I know we're a little over time, but our social media team asked many of you guys what questions you wanted us to address. And you heard some of us, some of the conversation earlier tonight. We got so many responses from you. Many of you asked, how are we going to stop this? And what are some actions you can take that are safe? I've been taking action alongside countless MoveOn members. And to those on the edge wondering if this is the right time, let me tell you. This is probably the most powerful you are ever going to feel. Asserting your freedom for a great cause, something bigger than any one of us. I went to an April 5th event, and there were people from all backgrounds there. There were babies there were teens there, young adults, veterans with their hats, there were seniors. People peacefully turned out to the streets with their baby strollers, their walkers. People brought everything that they needed, water bottles and signs. It was the largest day of action under the second Trump administration, and we've only gotten started. You heard Ronna share the plan. You heard the governor and senator lay out why this is essential. It's not just a few that have this power. It's not just our elected officials or the people you deem to be in power that can stop this. You are the power. We are all the power, and we all have a role to play in stopping this. So make sure you check the links in the chat, take action with us, whether you want to do something more low stakes, like sign the petition, turn out to the streets tomorrow for May Day, or join us for a virtual phone bank next week. There's something for you to do. And trust me, we need each and every one of you. So I will stop yapping and I will hand back the mic over to Chris Percy.
Okay, Sass, we the power. We the power. Thank you so much for all that you do. And a special thank you to all of our guests tonight, Governor Walz, Senator Booker, Ronna, Larry, thank you so much for sharing India, for sharing your story. Thank you so much to Professor Timothy Snyder. Thank you so much for those words of wisdom on how to make it through. And most importantly, to each and every one of you joining us tonight, thank you for being with us. As we wrap up tonight, I just want to say this. The challenges we're facing are real. But just like Sass said, so is our power. What we've seen tonight is a reflection of something bigger than any one event or campaign. It's a movement made up of people like you, showing up with heart, showing up with courage and determination. Each of us has a role to play in shaping the future we believe in, whether you're making calls, hosting rallies, talking to your neighbors, or just starting to get involved. Know this, you matter, your voice matters, and together we are unstoppable. So let's carry this energy forward. Don't let it stay here. You know, we want you to be informed, but after you get informed, you got to put on your shoes and pick up your phones and you know, put on your jacket and get your signs, you know. Let's turn inspiration into action, and let's keep building a country where dignity and justice and democracy truly belong to all of us. So again, thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for being a part of this movement, and we'll see you out there. Good night, everybody.